Whilst the DJI Neo has a myriad of control methods that the beginner drone enthusiast can explore, DJI couldn't quite fit in some of the features that are on the likes of the DJI Mini 4 Pro, and that's not surprising given that it's less than half the price. The camera isn't great, wind resistance can be an issue, the battery capacity is quite short, and it doesn't do waypoints and it doesn't do hyperlapses. Wait, you can do hyperlapses. Sort of. In this video, I'm going to show you how, and at the end of it, I'm also going to show you how to get this effect. This surprising little drone was released at the back end of 2024, and for me at least, it's become a firm favourite. Yes, it has its limitations when you compare it to the Mini 4 Pro, or Air 3, or dare I mention it, the DJI Flip.
It's got a bloody huge curse on it.
But there's something about this relatively cheap drone that makes it very difficult to put down. I've had a bit of a play with it and worked out a way of getting it to do hyperlapses.
That's bollocks.
No, it's
Okay, so it doesn't do it natively, but by using the cruise control function, timed photos and a little bit of jiggery pokery in the free version of Davinci Resolve, you can create clips like this. You thought I was going to show you a sunset, didn't you? Well, you can do that as well. So let's get on with it, starting with the setup of your shot. For the purposes of this video, we'll be using the RCN3 controller with my phone. But if you have an RC2 controller, it works in just the same way. Firstly, make sure you have a fully charged fresh battery, as you're going to be using all of it to get this shot. Connect the Neo, and before you take off, check that the shooting mode is in photo, and set the shooting mode to timed shot. Select 2 seconds and then tap anywhere on the screen to dismiss that menu. We want the resulting pictures that are taken to be as consistent as possible with each other in terms of exposure, ISO and white balance. So we're going to go into Pro mode and just lock in some of those controls so that they don't change between photos. Click on the sliders icon and set your white balance to around 5600K. Which is standard daylight color temperature. If you leave this on auto, you might find some color shifts in your resulting footage, and you really don't want that. It looks weird. Set your aspect ratio to 4:3. We want to use the whole of the sensor for this, and 16:9 crops in. Don't worry, we'll be doing our own cropping to 16:9 later in the process. Whilst you're here, you can check your storage. You're going to need about 2.5 gigabytes for this shot, so as long as you've got that, then you'll be fine. Click on the camera settings icon, leave your ISO on auto, and bring your shutter speed down as much as possible without the picture getting overexposed. This will give each photo that's taken some natural motion blur for anything that's moving. Obviously, the slower the shutter speed is, the more overexposed your picture may be, so balance this out with your exposure setting. You're aiming for the ISO to remain between about 100 and 200 to reduce the noise in the picture, and a minimum exposure value of about -2. Neutral density filters can really help bring your shutter speed down here, so if you've got them, then use them. And if you don't know what those are, then I'll link a video explaining them at the end of this one. I'm using an ND filter here so I can get a shutter speed of 1/60 and just bring down the exposure to about -2. Don't worry too much if the picture looks slightly underexposed. That's easy to fix in the edit, whereas overexposure is often impossible to fix. Ideally, you would do these settings with the drone in the air, around the height and direction that you'll be facing, but that would take up a lot of battery. You could do it with the drone in your hand or on the ground, but the light may be different there to what you're going to be shooting, and you'll still use up a lot of battery, though not as much as if the drone was flying. So if you have a spare battery, now would be a good time to swap that out. Or if not, then top up the battery you have just before the flight, as you want to maximise the amount of time you get in the air. With a full battery, so far I've managed an 11-second hyperlapse shot. Let me know in the comments if you can beat that. For the final part of your setup, we're going to be using the cruise control function to take this shot. So in your settings, go into Control, then scroll down to Button Customization, and check that your function button is set to cruise control. This is a very cool function that means that you can set the drone off in a certain direction and speed, press this button, and it will carry on at that speed without you having to use the sticks at all. To cancel it, just press the cancel button on the screen, or the function button. Top tip here is before the flight, take the prop guards off. This will give you the absolute maximum amount of time in the air. Turn the drone on, make sure it has a healthy connection to the satellites, and take off and hover a couple of feet up to make sure it's confirmed its home point. Then fly up to where you want to start your hyperlapse. I'd recommend you start your hyperlapse run at the point furthest away from you, and the direction of your hyperlapse flight needs to be coming back towards you. This means that when it gets to automatic return to home time, the drone hasn't got far to travel on what battery it has left. I'd also recommend an altitude of 75 meters or 246 feet in urban areas, because as cute as the DJI Neo is, it's a little bit of a noisy bugger and you don't want to annoy people with it. And obviously always keep the drone within visual line of sight. What? Oh yes. He's saying that if you're finding this video of any value, could you please hit like, because it helps it get it out to other people. And also, if you're enjoying it, then hit subscribe as well, so that you can be one of the first to see any new videos that come out. Thanks very much. Okay? I often use sport mode to get to the start point as quickly as possible. When you get there, switch to photo mode and check it's on timed photos at 2 seconds. Then adjust your gimbal and drone position to get the shot you want. You don't have to worry too much about the rule of thirds at this stage, as we're going to be reframing this in the edit. Using the flight mode button on the controller, switch that to C or Cine mode, because using the right stick, you're going to very gently start the drone in the direction that you want your hyperlapse to go, and you want this to be as slow as possible. Keep an eye on the direction speed down at the bottom of the screen, and when you have it going between about 0.1 to 0.3 meters per second, put it in cruise control. This can sometimes be a little tricky and might take a couple of attempts, but just make sure you've initially got a consistent speed and then it will work. Start the timed photos either by hitting the top right shoulder button or the button on the screen. Keep an eye on the time left at the top of the screen, and for safety reasons, always check visually where the drone is. When you get to the low battery warning, stop the photos and hit return to home. So now we've got all of our photos on our drone, we need to jump on the computer, open up Davinci Resolve, and stick them into there. Now I'll start out by saying there are many video editing packages out there, but by far the best in my opinion is Davinci Resolve by Blackmagic Design. Whilst it may look intimidating to start off with, it must be fairly idiot proof, because it's what I use to do, well, all of this. There's a completely free version available on the Blackmagic website, which is surprisingly unlimited. At the time of filming, everything I'm going to show you today is available for you in the free version. By the way, I'm not sponsored by Blackmagic Design, and I'm definitely not an editing expert, which is probably why. But I'll leave a link in the description for you if you haven't downloaded it already. If you want to learn more, check out my channel page and scroll down to the editing and video gods section. And while you're there, you might as well hit the subscribe button. Where the f did I put the drone?
One moment, please.
Plug your USB-C cable that came with the drone into the drone and into your computer. And then in File Explorer, or if you're posh and have got a Mac, I think it's called Finder, navigate to your internal storage, click on DCIM, then the next folder, and select all of these JPG files. You can of course use Ctrl and A, or whatever the Mac version is. Copy these files, then in a folder that you've chosen, or Neo Hyperlapse, paste those files into there. And that'll take a couple of minutes. You can, of course, cut and paste if you want to live life on the edge. Once those files have all come across, you can eject your Neo and disconnect it. Create yourself a new project in Davinci Resolve, and then in the Media tab, right-click and click on Import Media. Navigate to the folder with your photos in, select them all and hit Open. And that has now imported all of your photos for your hyperlapse. Go into the Edit tab, grab all of your photos, which should be in the media pool. If you can't see the media pool, click on Media Pool here. You can click on the top one, and if you press Ctrl and A, that will select all of them, and you can drag that down onto your timeline. Now I just want to make this timeline slightly smaller so that we can see all of the clips. Select all of the photos, and we want to change these photos to make sure that there's one photo per frame. So with them all selected, right click and then click on Change Clip Duration. Click on Frames, and where we've got duration, change that to 1. You can see here now we've got lots of gaps in between each photo, so that would just be a black space. Davinci Resolve has got a really good way of sorting that out though. If we select everything again and we go into Edit and then Delete Gaps, that has removed all of those gaps. So now one photo is one frame in our clip, and you can see this has got significantly shorter. This is 10 seconds long. It's pretty good. It was a little bit windy and I did have to do some fiddling about here. So now let's see if we press play. Well, it's okay, but it's a bit jerky. We can sort that out though. First thing we do, again, select all of the photos. And in Inspector, if you can't see that, it's up here, click on Inspector. Then we go down to Stabilization, click on that, and just change the smooth setting to 0.5-ish. Doesn't matter if there's a 100th there. Click on Stabilize, and that will take a few seconds to do. This is saying about 1 minute and 18 seconds. It really does depend on how much grunt you've got in your computer though. Next thing we do is select all of the photos again, and this time we're going to create a compound clip. And what this does is turn all of those photos into a video clip. So let's click on Create here. And now you can see this has just changed to one long clip. Again, go to Stabilization, and this time make Smooth all the way up to 1, and then hit Stabilize again. Now, some of you may be wondering why I stabilized the photos and then I'm stabilizing the video as well. Well, with all of the experimentation that I did on this, I just found that you got a better result by doing that. Okay, so what have we got now? Let's hit play. Now that is a lot smoother. What you can see here at the sides of the picture is where Davinci has gone through and worked out how to make this video as smooth as possible, matching each frame with each other and predicting where the frames are going. So the next thing we're going to do is zoom in on this video and crop those sides of the shot off. So let's go to about there. It's normally about 1.3. Now let's have a look. That's pretty good. But let's have a look at the composition a little bit. Now we've got some really nice clouds here today, so I want to focus on the clouds. So let's bring the horizon line down to about 1/3 of the way down. So in here, in position, we're just going to bring that down. Let's have a look at that now. That's looking pretty good. Now this was just a quick one-off hyperlapse that I did to demonstrate this, but it does depend very much on how windy the day is and what sort of light you have. Your mileage will vary with your results. If you've got a slightly underexposed video, what you can do is go into the color tab and then click on this circle here, which is color wheels, and you can use the lift, the gamma, the gain and the offset to alter your exposure. If you've got an underexposed piece of video, that's fine. You can normally recover the details from it. If you've overexposed it and blown it out, then you could do what I do, which is normally switch the computer off, go and lie down on the sofa and consider my life choices. Now, whilst we're in the color page, I'm going to show you the tilt shift effect that we can do with the free version of Davinci Resolve. There is a tilt shift effect in the studio version, but this does just about the same job. Let's go back to the edit page because we want the town to be featuring in this more. So let's bring the town up a little bit. Go back to the color page, and we're going to add an extra node here. If you can't see it, click on nodes. This node here is used for color correction, and you can add extra nodes in by using Alt and S. In this case, we're going to add a node here, and we're going to go into the shapes section, click on square, and we're going to grab this square, pull it down here, just change the size of it because we want the tilt shift effect to be across the bottom of our picture, pull that all the way across, and these pink dots here indicate where the change in blur is going to be. So let's pull those out a bit because we want that to be nice and gradual. And then the next thing we're going to do is click on Effects and drop Gaussian Blur onto that node. Now you can see here that what's happened is it's blurring the bit that we want to be in focus. That's really easy to sort out though. Back down here, click on this icon and that changes it. And you can move this slightly if you want. If you want to be able to see that without these lines in the way, you can click on this icon here and that removes your power window. Once you've finished with that, we can export this as a video. So go into the Deliver tab, and for a basic video that you want to export, click on H.264 Master. Give your file a name and browse to where you want to save it. I'm just going to save this onto the desktop. Once that's all set, click on Add to Render Queue and then Render All. And that will take a little bit of time just to create that, and then you can navigate to that in Explorer. That should open up in your media player. There we go. If you want to know more about ND filters for the DJI Neo, have a look at this video here. And if you want to see what YouTube's goblins think that you want to watch next, watch this here. Bye!